Hello and welcome to A Book in 5 Minutes. My name is Lindsay Milner and I'm a training and development consultant, and I work mostly with people who want to take back control of their working life and learn to love Mondays. While I've been doing that work, I have read a great deal of books and thought it might be interesting to share some of the insights that I've got from those books with you. And this week's book is called Brave New Work, and it is written by Aaron Dignan. The book essentially is saying that the way we've been accustomed to working, the principles of scientific management, piecework and managers making sure that the factory workers all get on with their work as fast as they can, separating the thinking from the doing. Managers tell people what to do and also sometimes what to think, that way of working is no longer serving us. He says that we need to move towards more positive view of people. He says that the prevalent thinking is that everybody is lazy and doesn't really want to do their work, so they have to be managed and ensure that they comply. Except for you, of course, because you really want to do some meaningful work and fulfill your potential. So that's the first part of the book, and that's a really interesting read. There's a lot of things in there that were quite new to me and really interesting perspective on how we've got to where we are now. The second part of the book, he examines 12 domains that he thinks need a radical change to change the way that we work in the 21st century. And that's about things like who has authority to make decisions, how we're compensated, how the business is structured, the kind of hierarchy, do we have a hierarchy, those kind of things. And I have to admit that section of the book was a little heavy going, and I kind of skipped over that. It was more of a how-to, and I think if you actually wanted to implement some of the things that he's suggesting, it would be very, very useful. But just as a read through, it didn't quite interest me in the same way as the first section. Part 3 is how to implement the change. And there was, this got a lot more interesting. There were so many new concepts in there. Some of the things that I really, really liked and that I hadn't thought of in quite the same way as this before. One thing I particularly liked was how he talks about the adjacent possible, and it's a kind of a different model for change. Instead of the hierarchy, the management, the leaders imposing, we're going to do this way, it is a much more participatory. In fact, he talks of continuous participatory change. But he also talks about the adjacent possible, and this is one thing that I really liked. If you're the kind of person, most of these books talk about, if you want to change, you've got to have a big vision and you've got to visualise it in detail and think about how you're going to make all those changes and how you're going to work towards it and really visualise what will it be like when you're there. And I personally have always found it a bit difficult to really visualise in detail. I've got an idea of things that I want to do, I want to achieve, but I just find it a bit too detail oriented to be thinking about all of the details. And what Dignan is saying in this book is that sometimes that doesn't serve us, a big vision. If people don't get engaged in a big vision, and the adjacent possible is much more feasible. And again, I've talked about starting small, which again crops up in here, start small, to make a small change. And the butterfly effect, you can make a very small change, but the ripples can sort of spread far wider than you ever could imagine. So have a look at what is in the present now that could be changed, that you could do differently, and start to implement that and see what happens. And that's as part of a continuous improvement. continuous participatory improvement. So it takes everybody along with it. The epilogue I also thought was really interesting read. He takes it there to, rather than just focusing on an organisation or a unit within an organisation, he takes it wider and looks at the economic system that we work to now and the things that could be changed there. And I found that quite an inspiring and uplifting read. So my view of the book is that it's definitely worth a read, maybe unless you're actually wanting to implement these, if you're the kind of person who works in a role where you have power, authority, influence to actually start making these changes, you could probably skip over part 2. But the rest of it has a lot, really, for anybody who wants to make a change, whether that change is in an organisation or for themselves. There's a lot of value that's in here. But I think it will be particularly interesting to leaders and influencers who do want to bring their way of working into the 21st century. The theories that are in there are really interesting, a new perspective, for me at least, in how to approach some of these things. So that is Brave New Work. It's by Aaron Dignan. And yeah, if you're interested in how things fit into the world of work and how they could be changed for the better, definitely invest a little bit of time in this. I will see you next time. If you're interested in these things, then please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a button somewhere near this video. And I'll also be doing some writing, some blogs that are kind of building on the themes that are in this book. So check out my website too, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.